What truly drives desire? Why do people, even in committed relationships, find themselves longing for something more? This video invites you into the quiet space where emotions, needs, and clarity intersect, a space often overlooked, but deeply human. Through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we'll explore the inner root of longing, not to shame it, but to understand it. In a world quick to judge, Stoicism offers a more grounded perspective, one that embraces emotional complexity with wisdom, not impulse. If you've ever felt a deep hunger to be understood, to reconnect with purpose, or to rise above reactive living, stay with us. Because what you'll uncover here isn't just about relationships, it's about mastering the self. Let's walk the Stoic path together, not to silence desire, but to listen to what it truly means. The silent root of desire and the Stoic perspective. There exists a quiet tension within every human connection, a current that flows beneath the surface of even the most stable relationships. It is not chaos nor betrayal. It is the subtle longing for something more. Modern society often rushes to judge those who step outside their commitments, labeling them as weak, unfaithful, or morally flawed. But the Stoic does not rush to condemnation. He asks what is truly driving this desire. The Stoic sees clearly. He understands that human behavior is rarely random. Beneath every choice lies a reason, even if that reason is flawed. When someone seeks something beyond their relationship, it is not always about lust or disloyalty. Often it is the mind searching for clarity, depth, or emotional resonance in a world that has grown numb. Seneca once wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Yet what happens when that imagination becomes louder than the present moment? When the mind begins to create narratives of what could be, of how life should feel. To live with purpose and peace, the Stoic does not silence desire but questions it. He does not fear discomfort but examines it. In doing so, he separates fantasy from need, impulse from intention. This practice builds emotional clarity and a powerful inner calm. Desire, when unexamined, becomes a master. But when observed with reason, it becomes a messenger. The Stoic does not reject desire, nor is he ruled by it. He walks the middle path where emotion is acknowledged but not obeyed. In a world quick to judge and slow to understand, the Stoic chooses a different path. He listens, he reflects, he leads with clarity, not to suppress longing, but to uncover what it truly means. The deep hunger to be truly understood in relationships. It is not always a new person we seek, but a feeling, a sense of being truly seen, heard, valued. In the quiet corners of many relationships, something vital fades, not love, but presence. People often stay together, yet drift apart emotionally. They share responsibilities, beds, conversations, but not their inner worlds. And slowly and visibly, they begin to feel alone. Emotional hunger is not loud. It does not shout. It whispers. A glance that goes unnoticed. A story that falls flat. A feeling dismissed. These small moments gather weight. Over time, they become the reason someone looks outside, not to betray, but to be acknowledged. The Stoic understands that every action is driven by need, but he does not chase need blindly. He examines it. Emotional depth is not about dramatic gestures, but about genuine presence. True connection is not found in words, but in the space where one soul truly meets another. When someone feels emotionally unseen, they begin to doubt their worth. Not because they are weak, but because human nature craves connection. The Stoic does not scorn this need. He recognizes it. He strengthens his inner self, yet does not neglect the power of emotional intimacy. Marcus Aurelius wrote that very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within. Yet that life includes how we connect with others. Presence is not passive. To listen deeply, to witness someone fully, is a rare and powerful act. People do not want perfection. They want presence. The Stoic brings both inner stability and external awareness. In doing so, he builds relationships that do not just exist, but truly live. When passion fades in the loop of familiarity, passion rarely dies suddenly. It fades slowly, quietly through the repetition of everyday life. The moments that once sparked fire become routine. What was once exciting becomes expected. The initial thrill, the discovery, the spark of connection all begin to dull under the weight of habits and responsibilities. People do not stop caring. They stop noticing. The Stoic does not fear routine, but he does not let it define his relationships. He understands that passion, like a flame, requires fuel. Without effort, novelty, and intention, even the deepest bond can lose its warmth. What once was vibrant becomes muted. Partners may remain loyal but feel distant. They may stay together but miss the energy that once made them feel alive. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we have power over our minds, not over external events. When passion fades, many blame circumstances. But the Stoic looks inward. He asks not what is missing from the outside, but what can be cultivated from within. Passion is not a gift that lasts by chance. It is an art, a practice, a choice. It is the decision to remain curious, to see the familiar with fresh eyes, to bring intention into the ordinary. The Stoic brings presence into the everyday. He breaks patterns gently. He invites spontaneity with purpose. In doing so, he revives what others allow to fade. When routine becomes a cage, passion escapes. But when routine becomes a canvas, passion paints again. The Stoic learns to shape familiarity into something meaningful. He does not wait for a desire to return. He creates space for it to grow. True passion lives not in constant novelty, but in mindful presence, in the willingness to see beauty in what is already here. In this awareness, the Stoic keeps the flame alive. The lingering doubt, are we living or just existing? There comes a quiet moment in many lives when a single question begins to echo. What if this is all there is? The question does not arrive in chaos, but in routine. In the familiar walks, the repeated conversations, the slow fading of dreams. It is not dissatisfaction with others, but a growing disconnection from the self. A silent fear takes root, the fear of a life unlived. This fear is not loud. It does not scream. It whispers through restlessness, through the ache for something more. It grows when years pass in roles that were once chosen but now feel like cages. Spouse, parent, provider, title after title. Each one meaningful, yet slowly consuming the space where identity once lived. The Stoic does not run from this fear. He does not silence it, he listens. He asks not how to escape life, but how to engage with it more deeply. Seneca reminded us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Yet imagination can become dangerous when it builds a life filled with regrets and missed chances. To the Stoic, a meaningful life is not measured by how much you escape, but by how fully you show up. He does not chase novelty to feel alive. He learns to bring life into the moment before him, through intention, through clarity, through presence. When the fear of time wasted arises, the Stoic responds not with panic, but with purpose. He aligns actions with values, shapes routine with awareness, and chooses each day as a step toward meaning. A life unlived is not corrected by impulse, but by awareness. The question is not whether we have wasted time, but whether we are willing to begin again now. In this commitment to presence, to depth, and to choice, the Stoic transforms existence into true living. Forgotten needs in the quiet inner emptiness. Every human carries needs that shape their emotional and mental well-being. The need to feel heard, to be valued, to be touched, to grow. These needs do not disappear in long-term relationships, but are often buried under routine and responsibility. Over time, what is not acknowledged becomes invisible, and what is invisible becomes neglected. A person may remain committed, loyal, loving, yet still feel a quiet ache inside. It is not always about wanting someone new. It is often about wanting to feel alive again, to feel noticed, to feel important. These desires are not selfish, but deeply human. They are not betrayals, but signals. The Stoic does not deny needs, nor does he become a slave to them. He recognizes them without judgment. He sees that unmet needs often lead to confusion, restlessness, and impulsive decisions. But instead of reacting, he reflects. Instead of seeking escape, he seeks understanding. When emotional needs are unmet, the heart begins to wander, not out of disloyalty, but out of longing. When intellectual needs are ignored, curiosity fades. When physical connection disappears, isolation grows. The Stoic does not fixate on what is lacking, but examines what can be created from within and communicated with clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that very little is needed to live a happy life, and all of it lies within. But inner strength is not the denial of need. It is the mastery of how we respond to it. The Stoic asks, am I trying to fill a void, or am I trying to understand it? Unmet needs are not weaknesses. They are invitations. They ask us to return to presence, to communication, to alignment. The Stoic listens to these invitations not with fear, but with awareness. In doing so, he turns emptiness into opportunity and longing into direction. The magnetic pull of inner strength and full presence. Attraction is often misunderstood. People believe it lies in beauty, in charm, in status. But the deepest form of attraction comes from something quieter and more enduring. It comes from inner strength, from calmness in chaos, from presence that does not need to speak loudly to be felt. There is something undeniably powerful about someone who is fully rooted in themselves. The Stoic understands that power does not come from control over others, but from mastery of the self. A person who walks with clarity, who is not shaken by external storms, who knows what they stand for, draws others naturally. Their stability becomes a source of safety, their presence a rare and grounding force. In a world distracted and divided, presence is rare. Most people are lost in thought, pulled between past and future, unable to fully engage with now. But the one who listens deeply, who speaks with intent, who meets another's gaze without flinching, stands out. They are not seeking validation, they radiate self-trust. Seneca wrote that the most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. This kind of presence cannot be faked. It is not about perfection, but about alignment, about integrity between what is felt and what is expressed. People are drawn to those who embody this balance because it reminds them of what they want to become. The Stoic cultivates presence not for attention, but as a form of respect. To be here fully is to honor life itself. And in doing so, he becomes magnetic, not because he tries, but because he no longer needs. Presence is not loud. It is steady, quiet confidence, the kind that does not waver, even when unnoticed, carries more weight than 1,000 words. This is the pull of a centered mind and a heart at peace. This is the strength that speaks without sound. When the self is lost and the longing to be whole again, there is a moment in life when a person no longer recognizes who they have become. The dreams that once lit their path feel distant. The roles they have taken on feel heavy. Responsibilities replace curiosity. Routine replaces wonder. In this quiet erosion, something essential is lost: the self. It does not always happen loudly. Often it comes slowly, masked as maturity or sacrifice. A person wakes up one day and realizes they are no longer living from the inside out, but from the outside in. Their choices reflect expectations, not desires. Their voice has grown quiet beneath the noise of duty. The Stoic does not fear this realization. He welcomes it, because in that moment of discomfort lies the invitation to return, not to what was, but to what is true. Rebellion is not always about breaking rules. Sometimes it is about reclaiming space within one's own life. Epictetus wrote that no man is free who is not master of himself. The Stoic knows that true freedom is not found in escape, but in self-awareness. It is not about rejecting one's life, but re-engaging with it with intention. To rebuild not the same identity, but a truer one. The longing to feel whole again is not weakness. It is a signal, a call back to authenticity. The Stoic listens to that call with courage. He does not destroy what he has built. He reshapes it, aligns it. He learns that strength is not in holding everything together, but in knowing what must evolve. When the self is lost, the answer is not to run, but to remember. To pause. To ask, who am I beneath the roles, beneath the noise, beneath the expectations? In that question lies the path forward. A path not of rebellion, but of return. Not of destruction, but of design. Nothing lasts forever, learning to move with change. Change is not a threat. It is a law. Everything in nature shifts, evolves, and fades. Relationships transform. Desires change shape. Even the person we were yesterday is no longer exactly who we are today. And yet we resist. We hold tightly to what was, hoping that if we grip it hard enough, it will stay. But the Stoic sees clearly. He does not cling to permanence because he knows it is an illusion. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the universe is change and life is opinion. What we fear is not always the change itself, but the loss of control, the discomfort of uncertainty, the grief of letting go. Resistance causes suffering. The more we fight change, the more we feel disoriented when it comes. But acceptance is not passivity. It is preparation. The Stoic trains the mind not to expect stillness in a moving world, but to move skillfully within it. When a relationship shifts, the Stoic does not demand it return to the past. He asks what truth is now. When a chapter ends, he does not mourn forever. He listens for what is next. His strength is not in keeping everything the same, but in adapting without losing himself. Change often strips away what is unnecessary. It reveals what is essential. The Stoic does not fear this process. He honors it. He does not see endings as failures, but as transitions. He steps into the unknown not recklessly, but with clarity. To move with change is to live without clinging, to trust that life unfolds not always as we wish, but often as we need. The Stoic does not beg the past to return. He thanks it for what it gave and walks forward with open eyes. This is how he finds peace, not by freezing time, but by moving with time and remaining whole within it, mastering the self to stay untouched by external control. There will always be things we cannot control: the actions of others, the shifting winds of circumstance, the rise and fall of emotions in those around us. But what defines the Stoic is not how he changes the world, but how he governs himself. He does not seek to manipulate outcomes. He seeks to master responses. When someone leaves, when trust is broken, when life turns suddenly, the untrained mind panics. It clings, begs, rages, collapses. But the Stoic remains steady, not because he feels nothing, but because he chooses what to do with what he feels. He does not hand over his peace to those who did not build it. Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to us, but how we react that matters. This is not coldness, it is discipline. A Stoic is not unfeeling, he is aware and grounded. He sees clearly that to give others the power to disturb his inner world is to surrender the only true freedom he possesses. In a world that demands reaction, the Stoic pauses. In betrayal, he does not retaliate with pain. He reflects. In rejection, he does not crumble, he centers. In loss, he does not beg for return. He accepts not with resignation, but with strength. To master the self is not to become indifferent, but to become deliberate. It is to respond with intention, not impulse. To protect peace, not out of fear, but out of respect for its value. The Stoic knows that the storms will come, but they do not have to shake him. He prepares not by building walls, but by building wisdom. His anchor is not in others, but in principle. This is how he remains untouched, not because he is closed, but because he is rooted. And in that rootedness, he finds a freedom no one can take, living with purpose and core values. A life without direction is like a ship without a compass, moving but lost. Many drift through their days reacting to what comes, chasing approval, avoiding discomfort, but never truly steering. The Stoic sees this as the root of much suffering. Not knowing what one stands for leads to confusion, exhaustion, and regret. To live with purpose is not about grand achievements. It is about clarity. It is waking up with intention, choosing actions that reflect one's deepest principles. When values guide decisions, life becomes lighter, more focused. Distractions lose their power and every moment gains meaning. The Stoic asks, what do I value above all? What kind of person do I wish to be? This reflection is not done once, but daily. Values are not decorations, they are anchors. In storms, they hold us steady. In doubt, they guide the way. A value-driven life brings resilience. When challenges arise, the Stoic does not break. He refers back to his principles and acts from alignment. He does not chase every desire or fear, every setback. He knows his direction and walks it steadily. Living with purpose also reduces anxiety. Much of our stress comes from inner conflict, from saying yes when we mean no, from chasing what does not matter. The Stoic simplifies. He acts from clarity, not from confusion. He does not need every answer, only a strong foundation. Purpose is not something we find, it is something we build. Each choice shapes it, each action defines it. The Stoic is not perfect, but he is consistent. He may stumble, but he does not forget the path. To live by values is to live awake. Not every moment will be easy, but every moment will be chosen. And in that choosing lies a life of meaning. Clear thinking and decisive action. In moments of stress, the mind often clouds. Emotions rush and decisions blur and clarity fades. We say things we do not mean, do things we later regret and feel trapped in spirals of reaction. But the Stoic does not fear emotion. He respects it. Then he moves through it with reason. Clear thinking is not a natural state. It is a trained discipline. The Stoic creates space between stimulus and response. He pauses, breathes, observes. He does not confuse intensity with truth or urgency with importance. He asks what matters now. What aligns with my values? What outcome serves long-term peace, not short-term relief? Decisive action comes not from impulse, but from clarity. The Stoic does not act simply to escape discomfort. He acts with purpose. This does not mean slowness. It means steadiness. When others panic, he remains focused. When the path is unclear, he returns to principle. Much of life's suffering comes from indecision, from wavering between options, from fearing the wrong choice. The Stoic simplifies. He chooses with conviction, knowing that no path is perfect, but some are aligned. And in choosing, he gains momentum. To think clearly is to see without distortion. To act decisively is to move without regret. The Stoic embraces both not to control outcomes, but to live with intention. He does not wait for perfect clarity, but acts from the best clarity available. In doing so, he reduces anxiety and builds trust in himself. Each deliberate step strengthens the next. He is not paralyzed by doubt because he knows that progress comes through aligned action, not perfect conditions. Clear thinking and decisive action do not remove emotion. They include it, but do not bow to it. This is the mark of the Stoic mind: calm, not because it feels less, but because it sees more. Inner freedom and the power of self-control. True freedom is not doing whatever we want. It is being free from what controls us. Desires that pull us in every direction. Fears that shape our choices. Opinions that define our worth. The Stoic seeks a different kind of power, not over others, but over the self. To be free is to no longer be a prisoner of emotion. It is to feel deeply but respond wisely. The Stoic does not chase pleasure or run from pain. He remains grounded. He understands that lasting peace is not found in what we have, but in how we think. Self-control is not suppression. It is mastery. It is the ability to pause, choose, and act with intention. The Stoic practices this daily in thought and speech and action. He knows freedom is built through discipline, not impulse. Inner freedom means no one can take away your peace unless you hand it to them. It is the quiet strength of someone who stands firm while the world shifts. This is the freedom worth seeking. Not loud, but lasting. We cannot control everything that happens in life, but we can choose how we respond. Stoic philosophy does not turn people into emotionless beings. It helps us live more deeply, more clearly, and more steadily through all of life's changes. When you live with purpose, act according to your values, master your emotions and thoughts. You do not merely exist, you truly live. And that is the path to the most enduring kind of inner freedom.